Roblox, the most visited experience, has been visited 30 billion times now, which is fairly crazy. It's a mad stat, bearing in mind the most watched video on YouTube has been watched 11 billion times. So the next generation are really growing up in these virtual worlds.
How do you define Web3 and what does it mean for the future of business?
Yeah, it's a big question for sure, but I think the simplest way to think about it is that Web3 is really the next iteration of the internet. So if you think back to the early days of the internet and what people might call Web 1 and the kind of read-only layer of the internet. So you could hit a website and it would throw you back some information. That was kind of the first phase. Web 2, we then had this sort of read and write layer where social media came to be, and you could share things and edit things with each other. Places like Wikipedia, this all this knowledge together that can be edited and shared. That's kind of Web 2, second version of the internet. Web 3 is really the ownership layer. We now have blockchain and these native digital assets, which is kind of the next version of the internet. But it also encompasses a whole range of new technologies, which are changing how we experience the internet as well. So until now, it's been quite a 2D experience, scrolling through web pages and on apps and that kind of thing on devices. We're moving to a more 3D immersive experience of the internet. So that'd be how I kind of would describe Web3 and what's happening. For the future of business, I think it's a huge opportunity if it's executed well. It's a fresh new way to experience your brand and your business in a more immersive setting. And it has this huge scale. It opens up this whole world of digital assets as well. So lots to kind of dive into, but that would be my brief definition.
What message do you have for businesses that are not already investing in Web3?
Yeah, I think my biggest message is to start with education and really understand what's happening in this space and move quickly but thoughtfully as well, because there's a lot going on and a lot happening all at the same time. But this kind of Web3 space has a pretty different culture. It's come from a very kind of grassroots beginning online with early internet communities. And as a brand, I think it's important to understand it from where it started, because as you enter the space, especially if you're a brand that's known and you have resources, we need brands in this Web3 space to help this grow, and as this movement kind of carries through. But also, if you're a known brand, there's a certain way to enter the space, respecting the kind of culture that's happening. So yeah, I think it's about getting educated. It's about using some of these tools as well, looking at the younger generation and their habits, growing up natively in places like Roblox and Fortnite, learning why having an avatar is important to them, and why them spending money on digital assets and being in these immersive worlds is important. So yeah, kind of get educated, start using the products, and learn about the culture of this space would be my best advice.
How may immersive technologies be used in the future to engage consumers?
Yeah, so in a whole variety of ways, really, and immersive is a word that can encompass a lot of different things. So, we talk about immersive worlds, and they can be on a desktop or on mobile. So, Roblox and Fortnite are the first kind of really good examples of this with huge scale. So, if you don't know, these are virtual worlds that you have an avatar, you choose how it looks, and then you go and experience lots of different kind of mini games that users have created in these worlds, and that can be immersive because, for example, if you look at a brand who's done it really well, somebody like Nike have created Nike Land inside Roblox, inside this virtual world, and it's a whole sports-themed Disneyland, if you like. So you can go and do different challenges. You can go meet up with your friends. You can socialize with them. You can play games with them, unlock things, compete against each other and earn coins, and then go and spend them on digital assets, on Nike sneakers. So it's this whole world that is immersive, but it's still on a computer or on mobile where people are. So that's kind of the phase that we're at the minute, and the numbers there are crazy. I mean, Roblox, the most visited experience, has been visited 30 billion times now, which is fairly crazy. It's a mad stat, bearing in mind the most watched video on YouTube has been watched 11 billion times. So the next generation are really growing up in these virtual worlds. And lots of brands have done this well. H&M have just released a kind of fashion world in Roblox as well. So that's one way, and that's what we're seeing. That's where all the evidence is, and the stats are huge in Roblox and Fortnite and places like that. But immersion can come in lots of different levels as well. Augmented reality is another version where you can have a layer of digital reality on top of the physical world. So we're hearing rumors about Apple releasing a headset that will be able to do this. So kind of walking around the physical world and seeing a layer of reality on top. It's happening at sports games quite a lot, where you can hold your phone up and it'll give you stats on the players and stuff like that. It's getting really interesting. That's another level of kind of immersion. And then at the other end, it's probably virtual reality. So Meta and their whole offering, creating Meta Horizons, their whole virtual world where you put on the headset and you're fully immersed. And Meta Quest 2 outsold Xbox for the first time last year. So these are amazingly kind of immersive experiences as well. So a kind of range of immersion, but a lot of it comes down to gamification as well, making these experiences fun, making people want to come back and hang out in your world as a brand. So a lot of it comes from video game roots, and understanding what kind of mechanics make people want to come back and what is actually fun and isn't just like, what I think when people don't do it well is often they take their current brand and just make 4 walls in the metaverse so you can go and explore what would be the same as the physical world, and that's not that interesting really. But the brands that are doing it really well are reimagining their brand in a new way in a virtual world. So I don't know if it was Coca-Cola or somebody, instead of walking around a shop to buy cans of Coke, maybe it could be going down the rapids or for various different flavors of their Coke, and flying through the air, doing different things that are still about the brand, but are using this technology in the best way and making it actually fun is the key. So yeah, you're exactly right. It's important to understand what works and then use that for your brand and create a fun experience.
Looking to the future, how do you predict the metaverse will be used in our everyday lives?
Yeah, I mean, so quickly, my backstory is as a broadcaster, so across TV presenter and radio presenter across the BBC, across Radio 1 and Sky and ITV for many years. And I kind of watched that audience. I generally worked with a sort of Gen Z, teen audience, and watched their habits change from initially kind of legacy TV. You'd watch a show on a Saturday, Sunday morning, and then the Web2 revolution happened that we talked about, where then a lot of their attention went online to YouTube and social media and content there. And then more recently, I've watched the attention shift again into virtual worlds, places like Roblox and Fortnite, along with the crypto journey. So watching that kind of trend shift is what brought me into this world, and started the podcast that I do, Welcome to the Metaverse. In terms of how it's going to affect our sort of everyday lives, in that younger generation, it already firmly is. As I say, it's where they go to socialise, and if you're a parent, you probably know your kids is constantly asking you for Robux money to spend in Roblox because they want to address their avatar and that kind of thing. So I grew up, sort of MSN Messenger, waiting for people to come online. The next generation are in these worlds. So for that generation, it already is. Going forward, and for older generations, I think a lot like the internet, it kind of naturally adopts quickest in the younger generations first, but then begins to permeate everyone's life over time. Some of the next biggest IPs and companies are being born out of the Web3 space right now. And as kind of the hardware and these technologies catch up and talk about VR and AR, and maybe Apple's coming out with something interesting soon, we begin to see it play into our everyday lives, and where it's genuinely useful for everyone. So I think that it will adopt in a similar way that the internet did, starting with kind of the younger generation and the early adopters, and then permeating through everyone over time.
Fantastic answer. Brilliant.
It's also, I think, worth saying, a lot of things start gimmicky at first. A lot of big tech trends start gimmicky. So the early days of YouTube were kind of cat videos, or TikTok was kids dancing, being silly, and very quickly it kind of hits an inflection point where suddenly it flips, and now every age, TikTok's the most important kind of, or TikTok's a very important, platform for brands to be on now, to reach people of all niches and all ages, everything. So it always starts with that kind of feels a bit silly and maybe a bit gimmicky, and then very quickly you see it kind of flip to the mainstream, and that's kind of the point we're heading towards now.
So what do you hope audiences take away from your public speeches?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of awareness around, this word metaverse has been in the press and kind of been everywhere, and everyone's kind of heard of this now, metaverse and Web3, but there's not much kind of understanding of what's really going on. at the moment. So in my speeches, I like to kind of move beyond the hype and show people the evidence of what's actually going on. Go to some stats in Roblox, which are phenomenal, and Fortnite. Look at the experiences that the next generation particularly really care about and are growing up and spending their time and socializing in part in those worlds. And then people, as I go through that journey of explaining what's happening from immersive worlds into blockchain and Web3 and NFTs and the culture there, and stats around sales there, and various things along the whole journey. We kind of leave the speech, and the feedback has been most people are like, oh, I get it now, I understand what is happening now, and then we can begin to explore with you and with your brand where you fit into that. But it's I think a lot of people are at this awareness stage, but I like to give them the understanding and hopefully clear up some of the confusion, because there is a lot going on.